a lot just to get through. So, okay, and I'm trying to respect everyone's time.
We
Yes?
have Morgan's do just a really quick
Yes.
update on the turnaround so that he can.
Okay,
Yeah.
in terms of the in terms of the TMA meeting, one of the issues that did come up was doing an audit of the PB fund, but also kind of what the status was of the turnaround. And so, Maurice.
Okay. When this whole situation started with the turnaround, we actually did some conceptual layouts of a turnaround to see whether or not we could actually make it work. And that was done by the civil engineer who designed the sidewalk on Powell Street, since he had all the survey data there. For background, the original width before we built the sidewalk on Powell Street, we had a curb-to-curb width of 74 feet. And then when we, with the sidewalk that went in, it took 2 feet off that. So we had generally a 72 feet curb to curb, plus the bulb outs in the areas where we have the bulb outs. But generally the curb to curb width is 72 feet. The new large buses that the TMA wants to use on Powell Street need a curb to curb width of 84 feet rolling to enable that turn. 84 foot 4 inches or something like that is what the information we got from the TMA. What we did was we took that information, the dimensions of the bus, and all the parameters, the technical parameters of those buses, and put it into a turning radius template. And then what we were able to do is to generate a turning radius template for the buses. And there was one piece of information that was missing, which is the pitch angle of the turning radius. And so we had to be able, the pitch angle of the steering. So we had to assume that, and we were still trying to get that information from the TMA. But I believe they assumed an angle of about 40 degrees, which is typical of a bus. They were able to make a turn work with a 75-foot curb-to-curb radius. But in order to do that, you've got to do it in a certain way. Because like when you're parking your car as a parallel parking car, you've got to be at a standstill, crank your wheels, and then back in. Similar to this turn, what you'd have to do is pull up to the side of the road, near the curb, crank the steering wheel all the way over, and then you could actually make it in 75 feet instead of 84 feet. And so, with that, there would be enough room to widen it. Because if you have to do it in 84 feet, we're going to be out in the bay. We're not going to be able to do it. But if we could do it in this 75-foot turning radius, we could actually widen the street by 6 feet and enable that. But, so I've got a proposal for $15,000 to design it, but I'm reluctant to proceed on that unless we can actually do an experiment in the field with the bus. And whether or not the bus drivers are going to be satisfied to be, the only way they can make this turn is if they pull over to the side, stop, crank the wheel, and make the turn. A lot of times bus drivers want to do it the easy way, which is rolling, and it's a lot easier to make this. If they do it in that manner, they won't be able to make the turn. So we've got to make sure that the bus drivers, the operators, would be happy in this type of a way to make the turn with those really large buses. Or the other alternative is continue with the smaller buses. They can make the turns right now, or go out to the marina. So those are really the options.
Okay, Buzz, would you tell what your experience has been with those buses?
I ride Emeryville once a week, and coming back on the Watergate Express, I've been on the very large buses, and they make that turn right now. And you know, the smaller buses could do it easily, but they don't. They go way out to the end and around. So I just don't understand.
Right, so this is based on the information we're getting from the TMA as far as the actual radius, and that's why I want to do this experiment, to see whether or not...
Well, they do pull into the crosswalk.
Right, which is
But
the
is
way...
that illegal?
It's not, it's the way they've been operating for years.
That's right, 19 years.
It's
Is that safe?
maybe Ronnie can speak
Right.
to why the.
Well, they're saying they can't
It's a-
do it now.
Right,
So-
it's a safety issue. When this whole thing came about, construction started, we were alerted to the issues by many people. Many residents from Watergate were emailing, this is crazy, there's people walking, construction's happening, so we temporarily closed it down. Once the permanent construction was done, completed, and the permanent, bulb outs were there, we evaluated the turnaround, and we could not make it in our longer buses. I was also told that we couldn't before, in some cases either. However, with all the crossing and the defined areas, it became more of a risk to the operator to enter crosswalks and then make a turnaround during a lot of pedestrian traffic out there, vehicle traffic. The risk just became higher. And their safety operations manager deemed it unsafe practice. We do have several long buses, and we have about 6 shorter buses, and our transit coaches, our big buses. Those can make the turnaround because they're made to maneuver that way. Some of our buses are on truck chassis. They're huge buses that have a fiberglass shell on them, and they don't have quite the turning radius as a transit bus would have. So, and we've been purchasing those more and more lately. So most of our fleet is longer, have the longer buses. For Watergate Express, we've designated only those that can make that turnaround for that route, only because we don't have we didn't want to increase service to that route during the peak time, and we were able to commit to 2 buses to that route. With Shell Powell to do that, it would be an operation nightmare because we would have to commit half of our fleet to that area to make the turnaround there. And we just don't have enough buses to do that for maintenance rotation for several reasons. So we do have it happening at Watergate, and the rest of the PAL runs, unless they have a short bus. I don't want to say short. I guess it's not really short. It's those that can make the maneuverability. Then they have to go down to the water turnaround at the marina there.
Well, what I've seen is the shorter buses do go, even though they can make it, do go there.
Yeah.
So
All the
obviously,
way out. While
obviously
the
some of this,
big buses make the turn.
yeah.
Right.
So,
And some of them might do that because if they're on Powell, if you have some buses doing it and some buses not, your frequencies get all messed up because you have to be able to be on the same route.
Trying to keep
The consistent turn, the consistent frequency.
so what I would like to know, and I'd like to see specifically the safety report from your person and how they deem that it's dangerous to enter that crosswalk, yet it's okay to go down there and cross other crosswalks and go into the parking lot. All right, that seems counterproductive in my mind. We've had AC Transit turn there. We've had the Pacific Park Plaza double-decker turn there.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that your buses can't make that turn?
And they make a U-turn, those
Yes, they
Yeah,
did.
forever.
And not a 3-point turn either.
Right.
So something isn't quite jiving from what Buzz is saying, from what we've seen for 19 years. We're seeing that there isn't a lot of effort
Right.
to really do this. And I know Maurice has been pulled 2 or 3 ways on this, and I think that's unfair to the city. I think you guys need to get together and get this squared away, because we've been waiting for this for a long time.
Careful test runs as soon as possible, with the city cooperating, with Maurice and the city cooperating with you folks, just to see what's a safe turn there.
Yeah, we're willing to do
And
the
then
test
make
runs.
it, and then make a quick decision.
Right.
Very high on our order of things that we're interested in is to take the present system as it exists, make it efficient, make it safe, make sure that all the points are served, and of course that includes Watergate.
Maurice, where is this turnabout located? Is it west of the fire station?
Admiral
Admiral
Drive.
Drive.
Admiral Drive.
Have we looked at going east of the fire station, immediately east of the fire station? And putting the turnaround there, which has the space that's part of the east
Just in
shore
front of the
state
fire
park?
station, there was reluctance on the fire department's behalf. They didn't want to have a turnaround happening potentially at the same time as
Competing.
an emergency. So they didn't really, we didn't think that would be a wise place to do it.
If it were east of
It was
there though?
Well, you're thinking, what I'm understanding is in front of the Watergate Market where you could maybe serve that stop and then do the U-turn right there?
Yeah.
Right, that would be right in front of the fire station, which would be a little bit problematic for that.
It would also create problems for older people. It's already too far to walk for some of them.
Well,
We need the corridor.
I think that's where we get into policy issues, which is a whole other thing. It's like, what is a reasonable distance for people to walk? 5-minute walk. I think in our sustainable transportation plan, I think we kind of looked at that as being the distance. And I'm not here to argue whether that's right or wrong, But I'm just saying, I think that's a policy issue that needs to be addressed, is what is reasonable for people to walk. And if we're shortening the distance, but we're making a transit system that doesn't function very well, I think we need to evaluate that.
But the point on that is that the captain and the commodore drives are off the boat, off the drawing board, because you have fire and police that are against it. So it's not gonna happen there. So, so the admiral or the anchor are the two spots that are appropriate.
So my other question is, are we involving AC Transit in this?
They don't serve the peninsula right now.
But I think we need to plan for the future. I really think that AC Transit is part of our
I think when
overall-
AC Transit, typically when AC Transit was serving the peninsula, they wanted to go all the way out to the end.
Yes.
And they would actually make that a layover. We actually built a bus pad all the way out at the end of the marina, and that was the rest. They would stay there for half an hour, and then they would start to run again.
It's a nice place to rest.
Better than in front of my building like they do now.
And we pay $90 per resident for AC Transit.
I think that is a good point, though, John.
And I just want to make one point with regards to the turnaround. I mean, you know, the longer buses that we have, or the ones that can't make the turn, when they are going to that Watergate Marina, they're not backing up the bus. That's where it becomes a problem. So when we were making those 3-point turns, when they were reversing into traffic, that's when it became a bigger risk. And making a turnaround going forward is noted as a safer practice, per the operation and safety manager. They did write us a little explanation from their safety guidelines as to the 3-point turn issue. So with regards to the marina, it's not a 3-point turn. They're not backing the bus up and maneuvering in that way.
So it's the 3-point turn issue, is it really the issue?
That is the issue. Yeah, we cannot make, in that area, we would have to make a 3-point turn in order to.
Unless you go to the crosswalk.
Unless we go into the crosswalk, and I don't even know if that would work in some
Oh, it
of our
does work.
big-
I mean, we've seen it. I mean, dozens of times. It's not a problem.
Well, it works in some of the, like I said, we have half of our fleet that can make the turn and half that
I
can't.
can't,
they make
I
it.
can't.
Everybody, it
Not.
seems that,
Right.
that the action item
Test.
is that the city and the TMA
Test.
Right.
staff
test.
will do a
Yeah.
test.
Yeah.
And
And
based
also
upon that
please-
test, we'll have more information.
Test.
Please
Solve
pass
the
the
problem.
information to
Yes.
AC Transit as well.
Right.
Those two things.
So we'll stage that. We'll have to
Yeah.
eliminate parking along that side of the street for
It's all right.
the morning that we're doing it, I guess.
Yep.
Or, you know, however we decide to do it.
Just let me know when you guys are ready.
Sure. Do that.
Great.
So, last